everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Linglobe channel. This time, we'll be bringing you content about preserving the world's languages for the future. Please enjoy it to the end.
Linglobe Voice chair. Imagine just for a second that you are tasked with preserving the entire history of your civilization.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but here's the catch. You have to do this without writing a single word down on paper.
Right.
You can't build a monument, you can't construct a fortified city, and you definitely can't draw a hard border on a map.
So no national archives, no physical proof.
Exactly, none of it. Your civilization's entire legacy has to be carried exclusively in the memories of your elders, in the songs you sing around a temporary fire.
That really forces a complete recalibration of how we usually process history, you know?
It really does.
Because our standard framework for understanding civilization is just so inherently geographical. We expect a nation to have a fixed address.
Right, like a specific plot of land.
Exactly. A place where their ancestors literally stacked stones upon stones. To understand a people whose history defies that stationary logic, you have to stop looking for borders and, well, start looking for movement. And that is exactly our mission today. Linglobe, we're examining this deeply compelling visual documentary that maps out this exact phenomenon. We are going to trace the language, the skills, and the traditions that hold a scattered people together.
It's a fascinating look at survival.
It is. So let's jump right into the visuals. The very first slide presented in the documentary is titled The Roma People, Roots, Language, and the Enduring Cultural Tapestry.
And I think that title perfectly encapsulates the scope of what we're looking at. We're tracking a 1,000-year timeline of sheer resilience.
Very briefly, yeah, it's about understanding how the Roma people maintained this vibrant cultural identity without ever having a traditional nation-state.
Right. No standing army, no geographical borders to protect them.
Which is incredible. But to really understand that identity, we have to start by looking at how they represent themselves. That brings us to our second slide, titled The Sky, the Earth, and the Wheel.
If you want to understand the psychological foundation of the Roma people, you really have to analyze this specific image. We're looking at the Romani flag.
And it's so different from traditional flags.
It completely is. Flags are usually codified identity markers for territorial states. But the color composition here tells a completely different philosophical story. The top half is this vibrant, unblemished blue.
And the source material explicitly notes that this blue represents the sky.
Yes. It symbolizes freedom, the heavens, and just this infinite, uncontainable spiritual expanse.
Which is such a stark contrast to European flags, right? Those usually use colors like red for spilled blood, or they have royal crests claiming a specific piece of land.
Exactly. They're all about ownership and confinement.
But you can't put a fence around the sky. It's a philosophical map of movement.
That's a highly accurate read of it.
Yeah.
And that infinite expanse is grounded by the lower half of the flag, which is a solid green.
Representing the earth.
Right, representing the earth. But again, it's not a specific territory they intend to defend. It symbolizes the land purely as a medium for their physical journey, a rooted connection to nature.
So the sky provides the roof, and the earth provides the road. But right in the center is what really gives the flag its momentum.
Yes, the 16-spoked red chakra.
It just stands out so brightly.
It does. It sits squarely in the middle. Literally, it represents the wheel of a wagon standing for eternal movement and migration. But on a deeper historical level, that specific design is a direct visual link to their ancestral origins in India.
Which serves as this historical compass pointing backward. And that brings us to the third slide, titled Ancestral Echoes, Roots in Northwestern India.
Right, so if we rewind the clock about 1,000 years, the evidence places their origins definitively in the northwestern plains of the Indian subcontinent.
Circa the 10th or 11th century. Right?
Exactly. A vast, unprecedented migration began out of that specific region.
And for a long time, the outside world got this entirely wrong.
Oh, completely. I mean, just look at the word gypsy. It was an exonym, a name given by outsiders, based on the mistaken belief that these traveling populations came from Egypt.
Just because of the routes they took into Europe.
Exactly. Local populations just assumed an Egyptian origin.
But the Linglobe materials make it clear that modern research has totally dismantled that. And what blows my mind is how they prove it. I mean, isn't it incredible that language acts as this invisible time capsule,
It is arguably the most durable artifact humanity possesses.
allowing modern researchers to definitively trace a lineage that was set in motion 10 centuries ago?
Right. When they left India, they didn't carry stone monuments. They carried their syntax and their core vocabulary. Linguists isolated words for basic concepts, fire, water, numbers, and found undeniable genetic lineage with Indo-Aryan languages from northwestern India.
It's an indestructible passport. So
Mhm.
once they left the Indian subcontinent, where did they go? Our fourth slide outlines this. It's titled The Great Migration.
This map depicts a millennium of continuous movement. Starting from that 10th century origin point, the trajectory pushes steadily westward.
Through the Middle East, right?
Yes, transiting through the Middle East into the Byzantine Empire territories. And the source notes, it wasn't until the late Middle Ages that they really expanded into Eastern, Central, and Western Europe.
I think we really need to pause on that timeline because people hear migration and think of a single group packing up and arriving a few years later.
Oh, no, not at all. This spans centuries.
It's like a generational relay race. The culture was the baton passed along steadily westward across multiple continents. The people arriving in Europe were the great-great-great-grandchildren of those who left India.
That is precisely how you have to conceptualize it. The individuals were transient, but the culture relentlessly moved forward.
And their language absorbed the journey itself, which takes us to slide 5, titled A Language of Many Lands.
This slide lays out a fascinating linguistic equation provided in the source. It goes like this. Indo-Aryan roots plus Persian plus Greek plus Slavic equals the layered Romani vocabulary.
Wow.
Yeah. As they moved westward, Romani operated as a highly receptive living ledger. They absorbed vocabulary from every single culture they encountered.
It is essentially a living, breathing archaeological dig.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Like, you can literally track their historical migration route just by peeling back the layers of their vocabulary. You dig past the Slavic, hit the Greek, then the Persian, all the way down to the Indo-Aryan bedrock.
Exactly. Every borrowed word is effectively a stamp on their collective passport.
But how did they preserve this incredibly complex language? Slide 6 addresses this. It's titled From Oral Tradition to Written Word.
For the vast majority of their history, Romani was exclusively an oral heritage. The source describes it beautifully as a living, breath-to-breath transmission.
Preserved through storytelling and song.
Right. Now, today, it's primarily written in the Latin alphabet, though the slide notes that Cyrillic or Greek scripts are adapted in specific regions to capture local phonetic nuances.
Which shows how adaptable they are. But I have to say, relying purely on oral tradition sounds fragile to us today.
From a modern perspective, sure.
Right, because we want everything backed up on hard drives. But perhaps that was actually their greatest strength.
How so?
Well, their history wasn't stored in destructible libraries that an oppressor could just burn down. It was carried safely within the people themselves.
That is a phenomenal point. By not externalizing their history into physical objects, they made it immune to physical destruction. It was perfectly portable.
Exactly. So let's transition from the history of the language to what it actually sounds like.
All right.
The next slide, slide 7, is titled Voices of the Roma, the Greetings Matrix.
This matrix is so insightful. It lists basic daily greetings. For instance, sastibe is hello.
Sastipe.
Devlesa is good morning.
Okay, Devlesa.
Then we have 90s tuk for thank you. Te aves talo for nice to meet you. And lachi rat for good night.
What I love about this matrix is the note on specific regional nuances.
Yes, the literal translations are incredibly revealing.
The fact that lachi can mean delicious and bakstalo means fun or enjoyable, it reveals this deeply welcoming and joyful cultural perspective embedded right into their basic greetings.
It really does. You're wishing someone a delicious night or saying that meeting them is a fun event.
It's just so rich and sensory.
And you have to remember, maintaining a language coded for joy while navigating a consistently hostile world requires immense psychological resilience.
Absolutely. And speaking of navigating that world, this ability to connect naturally extended into how they made their livelihoods on the road. Let's look at slide 8, titled Crafts, Trade, and Mysticism.
The source outlines 3 traditional professions here. There were master metalworkers, equestrian traders, and they engaged in card reading and mysticism.
And the materials specifically note that mysticism was a traditional women's livelihood.
Yes,
If you connect the dots, these specific professions were perfectly adapted for a migratory lifestyle.
they optimized for mobility. They couldn't farm large tracts of land, so their capital had to be their expertise.
Right. No matter what country they entered, metalwork, horse trading, and fortune-telling were highly portable, and they were universally demanded skills.
Precisely. Metal constantly breaks, and horses were the engines of the global economy back then. They made themselves economically indispensable.
And the mysticism is brilliant because they just needed a deck of cards and psychological insight. They monetized their own aura of mystery.
It was a highly sophisticated economic strategy.
But sadly, providing essential services wasn't enough to stop the xenophobia. Being a distinct migratory people moving through rigidly established European societies eventually triggered immense backlash.
Which is a dark but vital reality we have to address.
We do. Slide 9 is titled Shadows of the Past, The Struggle for Survival.
This slide somberly addresses centuries of severe discrimination, forced assimilation, and harsh movement restrictions imposed on the Roma.
They were effectively criminalized just for existing and moving.
Yes, and this centuries-long marginalization culminated in the absolute horror of World War II. The slide highlights the Porajmos.
Which translates to the devouring.
Right. It was the massive, targeted genocide of the Roma people under Nazi rule. They were rounded up, placed in concentration camps, and systematically murdered.
It's horrifying, and recognizing the devouring is absolutely essential to fully grasping the sheer miracle of their ongoing cultural survival today.
The clash between a culture defined by boundless movement and the regime defined by totalitarian extermination is just chilling.
It really is. But surviving centuries of hardship and targeted genocide brings us to their ultimate legacy today. Our final slide, slide 10, is titled The Enduring Journey.
This slide summarizes it all. From the plains of India to a massive global diaspora, the Roma have woven the languages and rhythms of the world into one singular, resilient identity.
They took fragments of every empire they crossed and turned them into a unified tapestry.
Exactly. And the 16-spoke wheel of their flag continues to turn. It acts today as a vibrant driving force of Europe's and really the world's cultural diversity.
It is such a profound legacy. The fact that their language, their joy, and their identity survived without borders or monuments, something we can all learn from. Thank you all for joining us on this journey through the materials today.
Thank you for watching until the end. We will continue to bring you many more languages from around the world. Please subscribe to our channel. See you next time on the Linglobe channel.